The Memphis Grizzlies had made the decision that they were going to move on from that core of Desmond Bane, John Morant, and Jaren Jackson Jr. And what this trade allows them to do is give them financial flexibility moving forward. They want to re-sign and do a new extension with Jaren Jackson Jr. So it allows them to clean the money up. Desmond Bane was on a maximum contract right now, but also allows them to move more toward a younger nucleus. They view Jalen Wells down there, who was in the Rookie of the Year candidacy, as a starting two of the future. So having players 2 through 5 being on both ends of the floor valuable to this team. But, of course, the big question then becomes, what do you do with the futures of John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr.? In the last 24 hours, I'm told emphatically that the Grizzlies intend to continue to build around those two. They want to continue to retool this roster. And they have all of these draft picks now that will allow them to be active potentially in the marketplace, whether they want to draft them or use them in trades. Talking to people in Memphis, they feel like everything they've done in the last several months is not to move off John Morant, but actually even more to make him feel comfortable in Memphis, particularly with the coaching staff change with Taylor Jenkins to a more fluid offensive coach in Tuomas Islo.
That was kind of going to be my question. In the bluntest terms possible, are they not moving because they don't want to or because they can't? And it seems like Shams is saying they don't want to right now.
Yes, I think that makes sense because they have made the coaching change. But the rest of the league put their eyebrow up on this trade.
Hey, Bess.
Well done. Because this is an arms race in the Western Conference right now.
Yeah.
There's, 12-ish teams who feel like they can, make a good run in the West next year. And they just step backward. That's not meant to be any slight towards Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, but that's kind of what happened here. Now, they certainly have ammunition on their roster, but when you are a team that trades a player in his prime under control of contract for a draft, essentially a draft pick-based trade, it's just going to start those questions.
Right.
Now, they have the opportunity to show actions over words. As Shams just reported, Jaren Jackson Jr. can sign that extension. I think that's probably where we're headed, and that will lock him in. John Morant can sign an extension this summer as well. If that happens, then I will take the Grizzlies at their word that they are fully invested on John Morant. If it doesn't, the eyebrows are going to stay raised. I can't do that, Malik.
Okay, I'll keep the eyebrow raised for the Memphis side of things. On the Orlando side of things, Mark, this makes all the sense in the world. They were dead last in three-point shooting last year, and now they get one of the best three-point shooters in the league.
Yeah, as you know, I was doing a diary with Paolo at the end of the season, man. He was frustrated. He wanted more shooting, wanted more talent. Desmond Bane gives them that. And he's around the same age as these guys, so I think that their president, Jeff Weltman, feels with Paolo, Wagner, Suggs, and now Bane, that they have a core 4 guys for the future, core 4 guys that can contend. For those wondering, they didn't ask about John Morant. I don't think there are any conversations about John Morant. And the Magic feel like they're going for it. They're going to try to contend. And in order to contend and get a player like that they feel is an all-star player, you got to give up those picks, or they felt like they had to and they were willing to, but they feel like those picks with their success won't matter in the end for them.
Orlando, it seems like they want to start going for it now, and then you have Memphis, who was second in the West as late as March. It's just a little bit of a strange configuration of a season for them. All right, so that's one trade that we did see happen. Another name, though, that still hangs in the balance here is Kevin Durant. What's the latest there, Shams?
So Kevin Durant prefers to play moving forward for 3 NBA teams, either the Houston Rockets, the San Antonio Spurs, or the Miami Heat. That's the 3 teams that he would sign contract extensions with once he is traded. But for the Suns' part, the focus of their conversations have mostly been around the Miami Heat, the Houston Rockets, and the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm told. So the Timberwolves are along with a couple other teams known as wild cards, potentially for Kevin Durant. But they're going to work with his business manager and partner, Rich Kleiman, on figuring out just exactly where his home could be. As far as those Minnesota Timberwolves, they've had some discussions with the Phoenix Suns, but I'm told Kevin Durant has no desire, he has no interest in playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So if you're the Timberwolves, how do you evaluate it? From a basketball fit, it makes plenty of sense to bring in Kevin Durant with Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
But if Kevin Durant doesn't want to be there, how do you approach that? The Suns have had an interest level in Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert. So these conversations will be fluid between now, potentially later this week, ahead of the NBA draft.
Rudy Gobert makes sense. I mean, the rim protection really struggled for the Phoenix Suns last year, but I'm hearing that they want to work with Kevin Durant and his team and Rich Kleiman, and they also want their best deals may not be the teams that Kevin Durant wants to go to. So make these concentric circles fit, Brian.
Yeah, so when Brian Gregory was named the general manager of the Suns, he famously had his press conference and said the word alignment like 20-something times.
It's like my back. I'm trying to get my back in alignment.
But is aligning with Durant's desires their most number one priority? And so here's the thing. This is where the risk profile goes. If you're the Timberwolves, for example, even if Durant says he doesn't want to be there, as Shams is accurately reporting, would you still trade for him and say, but we're going to be able to offer him the $100 million extension,
Sure.
and he can't get that necessarily in the open market next year, and we just are going to believe in that? Or are you going to lower your offer to the point where it may not be as palatable to Phoenix because you realize it's possible for a one-year rental? And does the offer come down to the point where now they start to want to work with Durant? I've been calling this the Durant triangle. You need this alignment on where Durant wants to play, how the contract works out, and something that the Suns would accept. That's going to be a hard triangle to satisfy.
KD wanted the New York Knicks. He wanted to go there. The Knicks have no interest in bringing him in, which probably makes Knicks Nation, I don't know, probably quite interested in why not. I think these three choices are by default. He definitely doesn't want to go to Minnesota, but I think there is some fear from him and Rich Kleiman that they're hoping that there's going to be respect at Kevin's age to give him what he wants rather than try to trade him like he's 31 years old, which he's not anymore. I think they're trying to get a major haul, but they're hoping that they work with him and get it done.
It makes me think of Kawhi Leonard several years back where the Raptors said, all right, we're going to take a one-year flyer. They won a championship. Obviously didn't work out back in Oklahoma City, where the Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, they are in the chase here. As we take a look at today's Electric Moment, brought to you by Hyundai. Let's relive this series-changing comeback for the Thunder, because they were on the ropes here, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the fourth quarter put on a clinic.
Unguardable, whether it was the free throw line or just showing up right on time with that little shove. That reminds me of MJ. It's okay when it's clutch time. Him going to his big bag and really leading to this defense.
And then the defense here on Pascal Siakam, who had been so huge, Brian, for the Pacers in this game.
He was so impressive the first three quarters, but he just seemed like he didn't have quite the same pop down the stretch.
Yeah, he was held scoreless in the fourth quarter. He stuffed the stat sheet in the opening three quarters, but the Thunder defense as a whole put the clamps on in the fourth. Lou Dort, it was just an insane performance in the Dorcher chamber. Sorry. And then taking another look here, Andrew Nembhard. He's driving, greeted by two Thunder defenders. And then a few possessions later here, Halliburton, he drives and has his shot swarmed by Jalen Williams there. OKC contested 15 of the 18 Pacers shot attempts in the fourth quarter. Were able to take game 4 on the road here. So the Thunder, they've improved to 18-2 this season in games following a loss, including the regular and postseason. That ties the 86-87 Lakers for the best record in a season in NBA history. I caught up with Jalen Williams, better known as J-Dub, in an exclusive conversation. Here it is.
And the Thunder have evened the NBA Finals at 2 games apiece. Get it now. Come on.
J-Dub, I'm just going to lay it out there straight. A lot of the conversation was, can you step up? Can you be the guy next to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to help carry this team? Was there a moment in these playoffs, a game in these playoffs, that you reminded yourself, oh yeah, I'm that dude?
I wouldn't even say the playoffs. Just throughout the season, I think that gave me confidence going into the playoffs.
Fires up a three-pointer. That's good. Jalen Williams.
I think whenever you have a good game in the playoffs, it gives you a lot more confidence than it does during the regular season. It makes it fun to be in these situations.
Rebound Holmgren. Three-quarter court Jalen Williams. No. And the Dallas Mavericks are going to the Western Conference Finals.
What did you carry from last season that maybe people don't know or see every day, but it still influences the way that you show up?
The feeling of losing when you're expected to win, we definitely carried that through. And I think also just playing through adversity, just kind of taking how we felt from that last series and not forgetting how it felt in those moments. And I think remembering that allows you to play better when you get into these situations.
The feeling of losing. Can you describe that a little bit more? Really take me there.
The biggest thing for me was when we lost early. It's you don't really know what to do with yourself, because you expect to play longer, and then when your season's over, it's kind of disappointing, and you try not to let your mind slip into you feel like you wasted a moment, and I feel like that can sometimes stunt your growth a little bit.
These are the signature moments in the pursuit of a title.
I would imagine that now you're heading into a game 5. You're kind of again on that precipice of, I don't want that feeling again.
For sure.
I don't want to feel that way.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that shape the way that you're going into this all-important game?
I think for both teams, it adds a level of desperation to the game. I think the best thing about it being tied is it's like a brand new series. So everything that happened before this next game doesn't really matter. And now it's just about like taking care of home.
Well, he has showed up when it mattered the most, right? He scored at least 25 points in consecutive playoff games for the first time in his career heading into tonight. And speaking of this evening, I hear Shanae. Actually, I've seen it. She's had the highlighters out. She's been in the book. She's been studying, y'all, the key in this pivotal Game 5. There's no one who is better at breaking down tape than Shanae.
Roll the tape. Oh, snap. This is my sister squad. I have something up my sleeve. Big Cali energy here at the Intuit Dome. We have a big cheat sheet on the Jumbotron. The biggest cheat sheet ever. Look at that finish. Turnaround 360. She has been balling. They ain't settling. Texas stays winning. Let me talk nerdy to you for a moment. It's time for my cheat sheet on how the Thunder protect home court Game 5. And the keys are actually 3 Ds, starting with 1, J-Dub and his drives. Now, we're going to do an experiment. All right, Mr. Matt, let's start the clock. Here we go. 3, 4, 5. 5.8. There it is, 5.8. That felt like an eternity. That's how long J-Dub had the ball in Game 4, his highest possession length, touch length, and that's because he was the primary ball handler, and it worked out. Watch this. He was great off of drives. They actually use SGA as a ghost screener to free him up to go to his left. SGA's like, the ball's not coming back to me. Perfect lay with the left. And on this possession, you actually have SGA in the dunker spot not being used. He puts you in jail on your back. Now, that means it's mail time. He's going to mail in another bucket. Nice behind the back. But this is my favorite part. Isaiah Hartenstein, shout out to you. Nice screen so he can get to the lay. So J-Dub and his drives, 30 plus in the last 2 games, very effective. Number 2 is the defense of Chet Holmgren, 2 for 12. That's what he's held them shooting. 0 for 4 on threes. But most importantly, if you think about it, 1 for 4 defensively in the fourth quarter. His defense has showed up. Look at the big men. They're engaged. This is the NBA Finals. Your centers are outside near half court defending. You love to see it. Now, he's so great at hawking the ball. Here's another screen. He stays with the ball. He knows his matchup is Turner. Caruso comes in to help, forces a deflection that leads to a steal. And then on this possession, Chet Holmgren, his defense. Now, y'all, he may not be the most coordinated, not always on point, but he's the most consistent when it comes to contesting. He falls to the ground. It does not matter. That is the defense that is amazing. And then lastly, on my cheat sheet, you have to dominate the hustle stats, the big stats, and they did exactly that in Game 4. 50 points in the paint, 43 rebounds, out-rebounded them by 10, 23 second chance points. That is the key for success for the Thunder if they're going to protect their home court here in Oklahoma City.
When that got into a tight game as we welcome Tim McMahon to the set. Howdy, Tim.
Howdy, Malika.
I love when he says that. It's one of my favorite parts of the day.
You are a country girl.
Well, I'm a horse girl, Shanae. I try to
Honorary.
make, honorary. I appreciate that. When it comes down to the close games, I thought going into this series it would behoove the Indiana Pacers just because they've had more experience and we've seen these miraculous comebacks time and time again. So when things got close down the stretch in Game 4, it's kind of like, all right, what's OKC going to do about it? What stood out to you there that could translate to this Game 5?
Well, this is the script that the Thunder followed in the Western Conference semifinals against the Denver Nuggets. Blow a big lead, collapse in Game 1. Just get outplayed in crunch time in Game 2. Your back's against the wall, down 2-1. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander delivering in crunch time. And look, Tyrese Halliburton is having maybe the best individual clutch playoff run and season that we've seen, at least in recent memory. But again, Shai, he talked about it. He talked about embracing the moments, wanting those moments. He seized that opportunity. 15 of the Thunder's last 16 points completely took that game over in crunch time.
Yeah, I think one of the big things has been the three-point shooting of the Thunder. They were a prolific three-point shooting team during the regular season. To the point, I'm not even so much talking even about the makes. I'm talking about how many they got up per game. So look at this. 39 basically in the regular season. West playoffs, level, just like that. 37. in this series, the Pacers have taken them out of their offense. They're making them adjust. The other thing that's happening, some of their three-point shooting specialists off the bench are kind of getting played off the court. No Isaiah Joe, fewer minutes for Aaron Wiggins. And that's been a huge factor to have the Pacers crunch the numbers and get closer. In Game 4, the Thunder are 3 of 17. Yes, you pay attention to the 3. That's not good. The 17 was just as relevant. That's less than half what they averaged during the course of the season.
Yeah, but when you look at the shot making on Indiana here, it feels like Miles Turner is due to maybe start getting going here in the series. I know he's had his fingerprints all over this one defensively, Chiney, but offensively, what can he flip tonight?
Yeah, defensively, he leads the postseason in blocks, but offensively, he has to knock down that three-point shot. It's been suffering as of late. Alongside Pascal Siakam, I think the difference in this series is he's shooting around 28% from three. This is a team that has made the most threes, when it comes to the postseason.
Yep.
So that is a huge part of his identity, and I think it takes the pressure off of him. I showed you on this breakdown, Chet Holmgren doing a great job contesting. One thing I will mention about Karl-Anthony Towns, I love how he pump fakes, drives to the rim. Those type of inside-outside moments for a center will give you confidence knocking it down at the rim so that when you come to your three-point shot, it's automatic.
Tim, you've been covering the Oklahoma City Thunder all year long, and one of the things that I asked J-Dub that's on the cutting room floor of that conversation is, does he still get nervous? And he says, heck yeah, I get nervous, especially because every single game now is the biggest game I've ever played in my life. And he doesn't say that as a bad thing. It's human nature, right? He said, as soon as the ball goes up, I'm fine. But the moments leading up to it, that's when I kind of start to get in my head. I would too, right? Did you feel that way as a player?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But what people said is if you're nervous, it shows you care.
Right.
And once the ball goes up, you feel so much better. But I do believe, like the last few games, remember what Jaylen Brown said? It's time for us to graduate. They're going through the fire together, and I think we're seeing his best version come on late.
What have you seen that makes you think, okay, this is the graduation?
I'm going to use a Mark Daigneault term that he uses a lot for this team, uncommon maturity. This is a young team, aside from the Ball Mamba. This is a young team, but this is not a team that gets rattled. How many times have you heard him say, get back to zero, get back to neutral? This is a team, they buy into the boring. They embrace the mundane details that keep them even keeled. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, it's newsworthy when he does a little bit like that to Nembhard, because it's like, oh, whoa. Shai showed a little
Tim
something.
Bontemps all the time on the pod.
Yeah, I'm not quite as even keel as Shai. And Bontemps ain't nearly as tough as Nembhard either. Oh! But the point being, dude, Shai doesn't sweat. Shai's facial expression doesn't change. When he's dominating crunch time in Game 4, it's a blank slate on his face. He's just a silent assassin. This team is so even keel. I think that helps them deal with the nerves. And Chet was talking today after shoot around. He's asked about pressure. He's like, I'm not thinking about pressure. I'm thinking about what we have to do to win the game.
I agree that they're even keel, but this would be the game tonight for them to go out of neutral into full overdrive. Because Game 5, I know we're saying it every time, whoever wins Game 5, it's 80% or 73%. Yeah, their defense absolutely has to show up. That is their bread and butter. We know that SGA is going to give you 30 points. We know J-Dub is playing better offensively. But if their defense is what we have seen historically, converting the most points off of turnovers in the NBA, it takes that pressure off so you can be in neutral. So yeah, offensively cool, calm, and collected, but defensively go into overdrive, and that's what we've seen. Chet Holmgren had 14 points, 15 rebounds, or vice versa. All of them are making their bread and butter through the steals, through those hustle stats, and I think that is their identity that they have to rev up.
I felt very, very confident